Welcome to Screens of the Stone Age, the podcast where, I guess today, archaeologists review dinosaur movies. My name is Josh Lindell. I'm a grad student studying Neanderthal teeth, and I'm here with...
I'm Dr. Kimberly Plomp. I am a bioarchaeologist. I study the human skeleton, health and disease and evolution.
I'm Dr. Ross Barnett, a paleogeneticist looking at the phylogenetics of felids.
And at the end, I am Dr. Andrew Kinkella, and I study the ancient Maya of Belize.
So thank you for being here with us again, Dr. Kinkella. So you are an archaeologist, you're a professor, you are also a podcaster and a YouTuber, and you have a background in film. And I didn't know this about you. You are actually also an expert in dinosaur paleontology, which is why we've invited you here to study Jurassic Park 3. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. I don't want to brag, but I just know every single thing there is to know about paleontology. And like when people are like, do you study dinosaurs and archaeologists? I'm like, yeah, duh. That's what we do. No, I am. You are, of course, as always, overly kind, Joshua. The true reality is that I'm not a paleontologist, but I was an extra in Jurassic Park 3. So, I mean, without me, could Sam Neill do his part? I doubt it. You know, I was there for him. So I thought it would be fun to just, go through the movie like we always do, and then I'll interject in the scene I was in, and I'll just tell you guys a bit about like what that day was like, like the shooting day, the background and stuff, and what I thought of some of the cast and how they acted, and just that. I thought that would be kind of fun, and then we'll just go on as usual.
I just can't believe you met Alan Grant, or at least her name.
No, actually, You'll see. Again, as always, my story is not as exciting as it may seem, but I can report a true being in a very large room with the one and only Sam Neill.
Cool.
So can I ask you to summarize the movie for us, including the parts before and after the scene where you were in the room with Dr. Alan Grant?
Sure. I mean, I don't really know if I paid attention to any other scenes except the one I was in. But all right, here we go. So Jurassic Park 3, man, is I'm gonna, as I always do, ruin this up at the front by just going, it's not the world's greatest movie. It's funny, man. I and as we go through, I'm sure you guys can, rejoinder with whatever I'm saying, but there's something just majorly missing in this thing. It's like a movie without a heart. I think it was just kind of a cash grab.
It's because it's the only one that Michael Crichton didn't write. So Michael Crichton wrote the first two. Third one is not based on his book, so it is lacking heart.
Exactly. It is. It's not based on any book, and also it's like Steven Spielberg isn't really a part of it anymore. You see his name flash by, like, oh, executive producer, meaning they shoveled him some money. But there, you can just feel it. It's just the characters are flimsy. You don't care. An odd positive about it, it's running time. I looked at the time, you guys, when the credits roll, they roll at 1 hour and 24. So this movie is 1 hour and 24 and a half minutes long. Like, I was like, wow, that's short. So anyway, summary of what you're going to find if you watch this 1 hour and 24 and a half minutes is, so there's this cold open on this boat, and you have the annoying kid, capital T, capital A, capital K, right? And again, why do we have to have annoying kids in movies? God, I am so sick of that trope. It's like, I love it when kids are smart, when kids are like pragmatic, and you can enjoy the kid character.
Like in the first Jurassic Park.
Exactly. God, thank you. Exactly. But no, we have to have the annoying kid. So anyway, they open on this boat and they're parasailing. So this kid is with who I think is supposed to be ultimately his mom's boyfriend. But they barely, again, you don't get to know this guy. You don't really know who he is. He's just an older, he's a father-ish figure with this kid. They're parasailing, and of course the boat is attacked by dinosaurs, but you don't see it, but it is because it's Jurassic Park. And and then the kid and the adult are parasail into the island because they're parasailing right off the coast of the island where the dinosaurs are, and of course nobody's supposed to go there, but oh my god, the kid is lost on the island. So then we kind of cut back to sort of the home scene where we see Sam Neill. I always forget his name. It's Alan Grant, but the Sam Neill character. And you have Laura Dern, and again, I always forget her name too, Ellie.
Ellie.
Yeah, both of them. And so they obviously, speaking of shoveling money, they shoveled Laura Dern a bunch of money to come in and shoot for a day. So they have this little sort of home scene where I had forgotten. I was confused because like you see Laura Dern with a kid, and I'm like, wait, did Sam Neill and Laura Dern get together? But like, no, they didn't.
I think this was an intentional fake out because I think it's supposed to look like they're together, and then her husband walks in and is like, "Hi, I'm her husband,"
Right.
and yeah,
and it worked for me because I was faked out, but I was also confused because as an audience member, you kind of want the old characters to get together, or you want to hear more of the old characters. But yeah, there's literally like, "Hi, I'm the husband," and that's like all he says, and then you never see him again. It's terrible. It's terrible storytelling. But
let me go take care of the kids so you guys can offer some exposition.
That is he. I think that was probably the line. It was that lame. So then, you guys, we go to the college lecture hall, which is my turn of fame. So this is the part that I was in as an extra, and so there's a college lecture hall scene where what happens is Dr. Grant is, of course, talking about dinosaurs. He just does. We're seeing kind of the end of his lecture, and then he says, "Hey, does anybody have any questions?" And then all the hands go up in the audience, and then he's like, "Wait, does anybody have what about any questions that don't have to deal with basically what we've seen in the last two movies?" And of course, all the hands go down. What a funny joke. And then we basically move on, right? The scene is just there to go like, oh, people care about all the Jurassic Park stuff, even though he's trying to continue his job as a hardcore paleontologist, right?
Yeah.
That's what's up. So, but in terms of that day, how that scene was really shot behind the scenes, you guys, was I remember having to get there really early. Like, I want to say it was before the sun came up. Like, let's say it was 5:30 a.m. or something. It was something really, really early. And where was the scene shot? The scene was actually shot, I believe, at Occidental College in Eagle Rock, which is very close to Pasadena. It's in Southern California. Occidental College is it's like a private college. It's where Barack Obama went, I think, in just sort of a fun sort of side story. But the reason why we're there is because when you look at the movie, look at the lecture hall, it looks like a cliche academic, like hallowed halls kind of lecture hall. It's all wooden and, it's nice. It's like a nice big room. And so in Southern California, the location scouts are always looking for this kind of stuff. I've done one or two other bits of extra work 1,000 years ago. The other one, the reason why I got in touch with you guys for this show was the other one I'd been in was Evolution. I was in the volleyball scene in Evolution. So, and that had its own. Yeah, I know. Evolution, another terrible movie. Why do you keep bringing me back? It's just bring me back for bad movies. But so location scouts find these kind of stuff for the look. And then we got there very early in the day, and then we shot. And what that meant was I was just one of the guys like in the audience, right? And it's a big audience. And people ask me like, oh, hey, Andrew, do you see yourself? And I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, have I done the thing of pausing and looking? I totally have. And I vaguely remember where I was sitting, and I might see myself, but I can't tell. It's so far back. Like, you just see these little figures. But we started shooting early in the day, and a couple things happened that I remember. I do have to say this. I don't like talking poorly of people necessarily, but Sam Neill was kind of a pretty serious grouch. He was
he's. I've heard a reputation that he's not a very nice guy.
He was I think the scientific term is grouchy asshole. Like, I'm sorry, but that was my personal experience. So I was. If you've seen that scene, I'm in the audience, I'm seeing him up there. And so he's kind of, he's doing his lecture thing. And obviously we were there like we were there for hours. It's so funny. The scene is so fast, but we were there for hours filming it. And between takes, he was just grumbly and like complaining. And it was like, dude, like, I, what? And he really was that the joke that I always do, the like, get me my room temperature Perrier or I leave. He had that vibe. And it was like, dude, look how lucky you are to be a part of this. And you got to be a grumbly jerk.
Mm.
I try and keep Alan Grant separate from Sam Neill in my mind.
Yeah.
I try and separate them.
But you see, Kim, I'm going to destroy your vision. I'm going to make this impossible for you. Oh, no. Oh, this is it. Because what I noticed is that in this entire movie, one of its problems is that the Sam Neill character is so freaking grouchy and complainy in the movie. Like his real self is going into the character that you don't give a shit. You're like, I don't care if you get eaten by a dinosaur or not, because I just wish you would shut up and stop grumbling. Like he's not there to me. And one thing I really liked is I hadn't seen Jurassic Park, any of the movies, in a long time. So I just watched Jurassic Park 3 last night, and just independently. And I'm like, there's so many problems with this movie. And one of the big ones is Sam Neill is so unlikable. Like you can't just be a grouchy ass, like complainy jerk and then be like, and then the audience will love me, because we just don't care. Like there needs to be some heart. And it's nice. And again, that's really what, like, no Laura Dern, without Laura Dern in this thing is dying, because that's what she largely brings. And she, in the other movies, kind of cracks his difficult interior, or his exterior. I mean, cracks the difficult exterior to show the warmth of the man, but you don't get any of that in this. Anyway, I also remember, if you watch very closely in that scene, there's a woman, there's a young blonde woman who like never says anything, but is meant to be a student, kind of holding the mic while one of the other students talk. And the morning of the shoot, I was talking with her, and she was just another extra. We happened to be sitting together, and then the crew suddenly realized they needed somebody to like hold the mic. So they came over and they grabbed her out of the group. And I remember being so jealous. I was like, oh man, like, she just got grabbed out. She gets to hold the mic and have like a close up on her. And then to use her, I remember they quickly unstitched one of the labels on her shirt, because that's one of the big things in shooting. You can't wear anything with any labels. And she just happened to be wearing something that said, whatever, Nike or whatever. So they had like a little needle, and they quickly like unstitched the Nike thing, so she had a like label-less shirt, and so that was her star turn. But she was still an extra. She was still uncredited, because she had no lines. But that's what I thought was exciting. And we just stayed there. It was a very long day. They had catering. People always talk about catering in movies. Oh, but the food, it's no big deal. It was okay, but like no big deal. So you sort of get free food at lunch. And then that was about it. I just remember being there, I think, for the most of the day. Maybe it was an 8-hour day. I can't remember, but it was long. And that was the shot. It was basically Sam Neill bitching and complaining for like 7 hours, and then we all left. So there you go. That was my turn of fame. Any questions? No,
not about
Not
Jurassic
to do with
Park.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I think in the first movie the grumpy works, but only because of the kid.
Yeah,
he has an arc. Yeah.
That's it. You've like nailed it. Nobody has an arc in this movie. They just come and they kind of show up, and you just don't get to know anybody. The young guy.
Well, the divorced parents get back together, but like it's not really earned. It's just because her new fiance is dead.
I know. And, dude, last time I think one of the last times I was here was for 2012, and it was the same thing at the end. I remember thinking, I'm like, Jesus, did they just like reuse the script? It's the same, like, now the family's together. And they even had like a similar last line. I can't remember, but like, so anyway, after my star turn, helping Sam Neill, give his best performance. Geez, what happens? Sam Neill gets taken on this plane ride back out to the island under the false pretenses that he's just going to like show the plane around, like they're gonna point out stuff like, oh, look at those dinosaurs down there, and he's taken there by who turns out to be, of course, the mom and dad of the missing kid, right? And you also have this young guy who's there, kind of the young strapping paleontology guy who we barely get to know and barely
The grad
get to care
student.
about. Yeah,
Yeah.
the grad student. Capital T.
It's
capital
quite realistic.
G.
He's entirely replaceable and
Yeah. That's,
just has no presence.
I love stuff like that. The secret movie within the movie. Yeah, the replaceable grad student. So they of course, now I know I'm gonna shock everyone, but the plane crashes on the island. What? Now, of course, at first they do this odd thing where they actually land, and then like Sam Neill gets angry and is like, no, we can't land. And then they punch him out, and then he comes back, and then they're like, oh shit, he's right. And then they try and like have the plane take off, and then the plane has to crash. So they have to have like this weird like landing, but then have an argument, then try and get off the island, then try and crash. And then the plane ultimately crashes. Okay, the plane's down, right? And then we just sort of have from then on our basic like, let's meet a dinosaur and run away. Oh, let's meet another dinosaur and run away. And that happens like a bunch of times as they're kind of searching for the son, and then as they kind of cross the island, like half running away from dinosaurs, half looking for the sun. Every so often they do what I hate, which is they'll make a joke in a moment where that is not funny. Nobody would be laughing if a huge dinosaur was about to rip your head off. But there's this point where Sam Neill goes, "Nobody move," and everyone who's there, like who's behind him, starts running. Ha 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 ha. Yes, Sam Neill said nobody move, and they do like a Three Stooges, like run away. Oh, I hate shit like that. Stuff like that kills me in movies. Like, stop. You've heard me like bitch and moan about this before. Like the tone. This is a serious tone. We're running away from dinosaurs. We want to live. Don't do some slapstick comedy bullshit in the middle of this, but they do. So they keep searching. They find the parachute in the forest, and they collect the parachute, which is going to be used later in a terrible... anyway, it's like... but they need the parachute, so they grab the parachute. They get to the main like science building. There's like a main science building in the middle, which is, of course, all dilapidated, where they also have they have like an emergency phone that they're constantly trying to use to call for help, and it's constantly not working. They do another slapstick joke where like the young strapping paleontologist breaks right into one of the old candy machines. There's some candy machines in the lab, and to grab the candies. And then the dad, the hapless father, played by William H. Macy, tries to break into his candy machine, and he couldn't do it because he's too worthless and weak. Wah, wah, wah. So then we learn that the velociraptors are super smart. We've touched on this before. There was also a line early on where Sam Neill is like, they're smarter than dolphins. They're smarter than whales. They're smarter than primates. I'm like, what? Smarter than primates? Huh? Oh, okay. And they're just trying to one up themselves from past movies. No, these are the extra super smart ones. No, seriously. No, it's even crazier. So you can hear the energy in my voice. I'm like, the velociraptors are super smart, and they're like, every so often the velociraptors will like circle someone. So at one point they circle Sam Neill, but the kid comes out of the forest because the kid has survived, right? And the kid has like learned to like, again, survive on this very difficult island, which is nice because that does make him a little less annoying. So he wasn't so, he's become not so whiny. But
it's ripped directly from like Newt and Aliens. I mean, it's exactly the same.
It's so close. Like, dude, Ross, why you have to like focus on my pain? I thought exactly that. Yeah. I'm like, it's Newt from Aliens. Yeah. It's so close. Like, again, the movie's so short and they don't do any like character exposition, so that's all you're left. You're like, I guess it's Newt from Aliens, because at least in Aliens I knew that character because I learned about her.
Yeah.
Unlike this. So I guess I'll have to just fill it in. So with Newt from I think we'll just call him Newt from Aliens
Works for
from
me.
now on. So Newt from Aliens saves Sam Neill. And then of course you get the reunion where it's Sam Neill plus the parents, plus the kid. Okay. Plus the young strapping grad student. Now they got to get out. So now it's like they got to get to this boat. Okay, we got to get off the island. We're gonna get to the boat. They see some eggs, which we're gonna learn that the young strapping grad student actually steals some eggs, and that which makes the Velociraptors more angry. They ultimately, to get to the boat, they ultimately have to go through this birdcage thing, which they go, oh my god, it's a birdcage because it's for pterodactyls, and so then they get attacked by pterodactyls, and it's at this point where like the strapping grad student has repacked the parachute, the paragliding parachute, and then jumps off like the edge of this cliff, and he's packed it so well that I guess he's knowledgeable in parachute packing. He's packed an old shitty like jungle parachute,
which had a rotten guy still attached to it.
Yes, that's all.
Yeah,
I know. Oh, that's also been like cut, like when they originally cut the dead body down, like they've like all messed it up. But magically, through the magic of Hollywood, he jumps off this cliff, and his parachute, of course, comes opens up while the other characters are trying to get down to the water. And at one point, of course, like the kid is like about to be taken by the pterodactyls, and the strapping grad student is able to like float over in the parachute and like grab the kid like while on parachute. And it's just like so impossible, but that's what happens. Then he gets caught, his parachute gets caught, and then the kid's fine, but then the strapping grad student is ultimately falls into the water and then looks to be pecked to death by the pterodactyls. So the rest of them get on the boat, and then they as they're floating down the river, they hear the phone ringing, and of course the phone is in a huge pile of dinosaur shit, because earlier we've heard the phone ring inside one of the dinosaurs. So they grab the phone, they ultimately get the phone out and have the it's so gross moment, and then there's another dinosaur that's there to attack them, but I guess leaves just because there's too much dinosaur poo around. So I guess the dinosaur is like, I'm not gonna go buy the dinosaur poo, that's too gross. And then they finally are attacked by velociraptors, of course, near the end, and then they give them back the eggs, and the velociraptors are seen to be very highly highly evolved, I guess you'd say, because they sort of have this moment where they take the eggs and go on. So they're rescued at the beach by like the U.S. Army and Navy, because Sam Neill was ultimately able to get a call back out to Laura Dern, and Laura Dern, of course, literally sends in the Navy. We learn that Billy, the grad student, was indeed rescued. He's there, all messed up, but he's there. Hey guys, and then the final line, "Let's go home." Oh, and then Sam Neill puts his hat back on in a straight rip from, you guessed it, Indiana Jones. Yeah. Why do you do that? It's so iconic of Indiana Jones. Why do you end with the freaking hat? Like, don't do that. You are a second stringer. You are not as attractive as Harrison Ford. You are not as good an actor as Harrison Ford. You are not as likable as Harrison Ford. And you are trying to rip that off. What a horrible, horrible choice. And there you go, my friends.
Yeah, that is true.
And scene.
Yes, and scene.
So do we have any pedantic corrections or technical errors that we can talk about in this movie?
Yeah. All right. So
we could limit it to scientific paleontology based ones so that we don't, run too far over time.
Okay. Well, the one that kind of annoyed me the most was that they gave, so the pterosaurs that are in the birdcage are clearly meant to be pteranodon, so they've got a big head crest. But the ones in the film have got teeth, which is completely not the case because that type of...
Because what does the word pteranodon mean?
It means toothless wing, I think. Yeah. So they're half right. It's got wings, but...
They've chosen the one specific pterosaur that doesn't have teeth. They could have chosen almost anything else.
But yeah, so that was quite annoying. I'd never seen Jurassic Park 3 before. And so yeah, it's not a good film, but it wasn't as bad as I was maybe expecting. It benefits from being short, like Andrew says.
I agree with all of the criticisms, and I'm helping to contribute to the criticisms, but it is still my second favorite Jurassic movie out of all of the old ones and the new ones.
Really? My philosophy is that it's still a movie with dinosaurs, so it's still top of the cream.
Right. I think it's so funny. I can't remember. It's been so long. I can't remember Jurassic Park 2, but I feel like I like Jurassic Park 1 and 2 a lot better than Jurassic Park 3. I feel like Jurassic Park 3 took a dive. Me too. Because I remember thinking, because I remember even thinking when it came out, I was like, ooh, I got to see this because I was like an extra. And I remember watching it going, damn it, I was an extra in the bad one. I saw one that I thought was really funny that ultimately won't age well, but it's not their fault. The whole 3D printer thing, right? They early on 3D printed, the sound hole basically of, the Velociraptor or whatever. And just that idea, it's so funny watching back. Like that is a nothing thing, right? Everyone does. Yeah. People do it at like high school just for laughs, like 3D print some stuff. But in the movie, it's like, check this out. There's this thing we can do, and it's fun to see the computer too because they're running, like a Mac from 2000, which is when when this was made. It's very
I was pretty
dated.
impressed by that because those are real that's things that paleontologists do nowadays is like CT scanning of their fossils and then printing out, various parts of it, or not even removing it from the rock and then just printing out the fossil itself. Now, the last Jurassic Park, the first one that we did where we had Dr. Elsa Panciaroli around, she does that with some of her fossils, which are kind of mammals from the Jurassic of Skye. So she has access to CT scans and 3D prints of her fossils. So, I mean, they're kind of a bit ahead of the game in that like in 2000, when this sort of came out, that wasn't, that was not something that was very well known, but now it's a fairly widespread and common usage of that technology, which is cool.
Right. So I think you could look at it in that way. Yeah.
It was weird they brought it to the field, though.
Yeah, they always do in these movies, though. They don't know the pain of any kind of technology in the field and how it will not last more than a weekend.
Yeah.
Well, we have 3 3D printers in our lab right now, and one of them even works properly. But we first started using 3D printers around. The first time I'd seen a 3D printer in action was around 2011, 2012, I think. So 2001, I would have never even heard of a 3D printer.
Yeah.
So
no, they were.
It was brand new technology at the time.
It looks crazy in the movie when you first watched it.
The machine that looks like a real 3D printer would have looked at the time, and even like some of the cheaper low-end printers, like with all the open architecture, would still look like that today. So I mean, that apart from the fact that he pulled out a thing that was obviously not 3D printed because there's no layers to it, and they wouldn't have had such a good resolution in 2000, and there's no scaffold. Mm-hmm. When you 3D print something, it has the structure that you have to break off of it so that it's held in place.
There's no curing.
But other than that, no curing. Well, I mean, if you're doing the filament-based like PVC or whatever, you don't have to cure those because our earliest printer was one of those. There was no curing for that. I just had to let it cool down. But yeah, I thought the 3D printer was pretty okay. The actual resonating chamber that they printed was kind of nonsense because the resonating chamber has a lot of soft tissue, which you don't have fossilized. So they just printed out the inside of a skull, which wouldn't have done anything. But I read that the actual resonating chamber that they printed was an enlarged resonating chamber from a dog. So they actually CT scanned a dog and constructed its thing. But you know what this made me think of? Do you remember a few years ago, they actually did this for an Egyptian mummy? They CT scanned an Egyptian mummy and 3D printed its vocal tract.
Any excuse for you to bring this up.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about? Do you remember the sound? They
Yes.
played
No.
the sound on all the news
Oh,
outlets.
yeah.
It's like, "Muh,
That's right.
muh." Which is like, Alan Grant plays this resonating chamber for
Yeah.
the velociraptors. He can talk to them, but like the velociraptors are probably like, why does this guy sound like a velociraptor going, "Muh"?
Yeah. Exactly. I know. That was a point where they're like, no. Tell them, say help. You're like, say help. Okay. Brr.
Oh, ridiculous.
It is.
Still enjoyable.
I
But still
agree.
enjoyable.
It's not. It didn't leave me. I think as I brought up, and then Ross said I brought up, and then I will bring up again that the short aspect of this, the like slightly less than 90 minutes, really helps it, because like some of the other movies, I've done with you guys, again, something like 2012. At the end of 2012, I was just like, God damn it, because 2012 just sucks so bad. I'm like, why did I burn my 2.5 hours or however long that thing was? It's super long, 3 hours. I don't know. Because this is so stupid, right? I didn't feel like that with this one. This one was just more like, oh, they kind of missed a trick because the characters are like so empty. But it like got from point A to point B. It like was, it was like, if it was just an episode of a TV show, I would have been like, oh, okay, but it just didn't have enough moxie to kind of, make it to a meaningful movie. But I didn't think it was bad.
There's a big paleontology thing here that didn't age well, that they couldn't have known at the time. But do you guys know what I'm talking about? Do you guys, anybody follow paleontology? Spinosaurus? Yeah. So what's the deal with Spinosaurus? First of all, they had to one-up everything from the previous movies, right? So they hit every point, but they amp it up. So they need a bigger T-Rex. They pull out Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus is bigger than T-Rex. But what's the deal with Spinosaurus, Ross?
Well, bearing in mind that I don't do dinosaurs for the most part, but knowing
we all do, you know,
but yeah, knowing some dinosaur guys that Spinosaurus is not really known from very much material, and the material that was kind of originally named for has been lost. It's from Egypt. I think it was lost during the war, but there's been a lot of kind of change in the thought of how to reconstruct Spinosaurus, especially in the last couple of years. So it's kind of gone through that kind of classic dinosaur reconstruction process, the evolution of reconstructions, like with Iguanodon or T-Rex or whatever, where it starts off as,
I know, Stegosaurus is my favorite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they all go through the same kind of process where they start off like big lumbering kind of 4-footed creatures, then they get 2-footed, and then they finally become they Pokemon like enter their final form. And so with Spinosaurus, it's kind of gone from what it looks like in Jurassic Park 3, which is this giant kind of biped, basically like a kind of T-Rex with a sail and a crocodile face. And now it's kind of thought, based on the newer fossils they found, that it's essentially like a semi-amphibious kind of crocodilian swimming kind of predator. Mm-hmm. So it would have not looked very much like what it looks like in Jurassic Park 3. It would have had, a crocodilian-like tail, kind of very wide for moving through the water with, and would have mainly been eating kind of fish and other kind of aquatic creatures. Certainly not chasing around eating airplanes as it does in this film.
The airplane scene went on and on and on and on and on. It's like, dude, just either kill all these people or just get out of the airplane. Like I don't know why. Scenes like that, I'm like, why? Who greenlit this? Who was like, I know, we're gonna be in this broken plane, and then this is gonna happen. Then we're still gonna be in the broken plane. Then we're gonna like roll it around a little. Was it just because we want to show off our new like camera technology? It's so lame, right? It's like, stop.
Get the most out of our enormous, expensive Spinosaurus prop.
Yeah, it is.
But actually, that was when the Spinosaurus looked the worst. When it was doing like the chicken head bobbing into the plane. I was like, that's bad.
It was.
Right?
It was.
You could tell that it was just a puppet on a stick.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the animatronic was more expensive and more powerful and had more moving parts than the original Tyrannosaurus and the original Jurassic Park. But I agree,
look as good.
the animatronics look way more like stilted and stuttery, and the CG looks way better though. So like the difference between the animatronics and the CG is like night and day in this one.
But like, you watch the first Jurassic Park and it still holds up. T-Rex still looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's really seamless.
Yeah, true. I'm curious on this movie if they originally meant for it to be longer, because there's certain scenes that like don't go anywhere, and I'm like, wait, like little moments like at the end with Laura Dern when the little kid brings the phone, is going to bring the phone to mom.
Mm-hmm.
You see him outside and Laura Dern, it looks like she's maybe arguing with her man or something. They're there by a car. It flashes by really fast. But it's like, wait, were they going to have something else? Were they going to have... Like...
She's actually telling the husband that the kid is Dr. Sam Neill's.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little plot point. Just a little bit of something. Yeah, but I noticed a couple times where I'm like, wait, was this originally longer?
Yeah.
And maybe they had test audiences and the test audiences hated it. So they carved it down or something. I don't know. It felt like that. There were a couple moments there.
It ended very abruptly, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like it was like run. Both the Navy and the Marines are here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is an obscene waste of money for like 4 people.
As if they would give a shit about like a paleontologist and a con artist and a grad student.
Yeah.
No way. But yeah, there's another, what Andrew was saying about parts that looked like they were kind of leading to something, but then just sort of fizzled out was when they introduced the compies, and like that's when they first meet the kid who's been doing his kind of Newt impression in the underground bunker, and he says, "Oh, it's compies," and then they see a few of them kind of scuttering around, but they don't do anything with it. They just disappear again, which is weird because the compies have a big role in the book, the original Jurassic Park book. They're the kind of first dinosaur that you meet. So
they play a big role in the second one too, don't they?
Yeah. Okay.
They eat that guy in the river.
Yeah, they do. They also attack the little girl on the beach right at the beginning.
Right,
which I think was a scene that was recycled from the original book, the first book.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was so abrupt. It's weird. Oh, here's the compies. Boom. Yeah. Nothing. No. You just see them. You see them kind of like come up and look around, and then it's like we're on to the next scene. Yeah, that felt totally like just odd. Okay, I guess not. Because as an audience member, you're like, oh wait, I guess not. I guess that intro goes nowhere. Yeah. I guess we're on to something else.
And then as soon as they left the bunker and started to walk in colony, then they found the parents. Everybody found each other.
Oh, yeah.
It was all very fast too. Not that I wanted it longer, but
yeah, no, I know. But it literally felt like there was just like one trail in the island, and just everything's on the trail.
Yeah,
so you just find everything. Like they find the parachute, and they just find everything like immediately.
Yes.
And I know they have to, but in better storytelling they kind of hide it.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky that there's only one trail on that island.
I also have to say that I thought Téa Leoni was atrocious in this. I think she was just, as a character, she was the worst. Like all she did was just like scream and like do nothing else really.
I didn't mind her. I usually quite like her.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh no.
I didn't mind her as bad. And again, I'm not Russ, I'm not here to disagree with you.
Okay.
Because I will say, I am not battling you on this. It's like where you're ranking her at a 4, I'm ranking her at like a 6. You know what I mean? I one thing I was bummed out of, and it did knock me out of the film, was early on when she was doing so much screaming. I'm like, oh man, this is Téa Leoni getting paid to scream, and that was like, come on. And some of the like when she had the bullhorn and everyone's like, shut up. That's another one of those moments in the movie that makes no sense. It's like if you're being hunted by dinosaurs and somebody starts with a bullhorn and everyone else goes, oh my God, wait, no, shut, be quiet. Right, you're not going to go what and have another stupid Three Stooges dumbass joke moment. Like no, nobody does that. That stuff drives me nuts. The like human beings don't do that stuff,
Except
and then
in
they
films.
except to move the script on because you have like poor storytelling.
Maybe I'm being unduly harsh on Taylor only just because Laura Dern's so good in the first one.
Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah.
So what I think
Yeah.
it is that the first two movies had female protagonists that were well developed and strong women that like pushed the plot forward on their own and dealt with situations on their own. They weren't always just the damsel or always just there. But this one, she was just the mom.
Yeah.
So even in the scene where she was the important one because the raptors thought she had the eggs, it was because she was the mother, right?
Yeah.
And so then she had to give the mother back her eggs. So the mother was asking the mother for her eggs back. Like, so she was just completely defined as the mom the whole way through instead of like Ellie and Julianne Moore.
Hey, if the mother velociraptor was asking the mother human for her eggs back, does that count as passing the Bechdel test?
Don't think so.
We'd need to have a velociraptor to English kind of translation to find out what they're saying.
Alan Grant can do that with the resonating
he
chamber.
just
'cause he
did
can see
it.
it now.
But apart from that, it's a big no on the Bechdel test because they don't even meet.
Yeah.
Ellie has an assistant that is talking about her book, but I think they're specifically talking about her editor, who is gendered as a man. So I don't think that counts either. And they're also talking about the Jack Horner quote that she doesn't want to lose, which we could talk about that. Jack Horner is a real paleontologist who is the consultant on, I think, 5 Jurassic Park, Jurassic movies. And also, the character of Alan Grant is partly based on him.
Right. And I do like it when movies do that, just throw a little side joke to nerds like us who actually know who that person is, that's cool. And you do see his name rather, you see his name in the credits and stuff. So it's like good for him. But what Kim was saying about earlier about like the sort of the relationships and the kind of the love relationships and whatever. One thing where this movie has no heart, I keep saying, is with the other movies, you had some sort of like relationship tension. Are they going to get together? Oh, they love each other, but they hate each other. Is it going to happen? And you have none of that in this one. It's just like it's the I guess the couple, but the central character is Sam Neill, or I keep calling him his name. Alan Grant. You need to have Alan Grant have some sort of love interest or some sort of something, or sort of something he's lost or something, he's fighting for or something. He's just a grumpy old man. Well, I just need to get home so I can have another cup of coffee.
His love of paleontology. That's what's moving forward. He needs to get home back to his fossil site in Montana.
That always works for me. Love of paleontology.
I think what they were trying to is that he was being paternal again, was being forced to be paternal again because of his grad student, right?
Right. But wow, that didn't work.
No, he didn't. You never got the feeling he really cared.
Yeah.
No.
And this grad student's an asshole as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, because the dude's not a good guy. You see him for like 4 minutes. He has like 12 lines. And it needed a heart. It needed a heart.
Yeah.
There's no heart.
One thing we can mention is that the Velociraptors got a slight redesign. One of them has a few feathers on the top of its head now.
Yeah.
Which that was one of the things, because I was like 16, I think, when this movie came out. So I was really excited because, I was really into dinosaurs as a kid. I was like, finally get to see some more realistic Velociraptors, but like it's barely anything. At that time, I think we knew pretty securely that Velociraptors were pretty much covered in very bird-like feathers, like they were fluffy, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you're limited a little bit because you already have the precedent from the other movies of what the Velociraptors looked like, and you can't change it too much.
But you totally can. I mean, the first ones, they're kind of 90% frog, so you could just say, oh well,
Yeah.
And the Isla Nublar ones have got like frog skin essentially, whereas the Isla Sorna ones, you could say, oh well, we managed to find a better DNA source, so these ones have got the original feathers, and you get all the kind of no offense, Josh, they start 16-year-old fanboys like, oh, we can't have dinosaurs with feathers. That's not scary.
Yeah.
But it totally is. I mean, if you've ever like been face to face with
Birds
it,
are scary.
yeah, ever been face to face with a
Yeah.
cassowary or a harpy eagle, or
Yeah.
even like up close a crow. If they've ever had a crow
Yeah.
go at you, then they're bloody
even
terrifying.
ducks.
Yeah,
Even ducks
Yeah.
can be serious assholes.
Geese.
Geese?
We have
Absolutely.
Geese, yeah.
Swans. Yeah,
Yeah.
the swans.
Yeah.
will
the campus
take-
at University of
take your face
Manitoba
off.
here always has geese on it
Mhm.
all over it. You have to
Yeah.
stay clear of the geese because
Yeah, same in
they'll
U of
attack
A.
you
Yeah.
unprovoked.
a 6-foot goose
Yeah.
with teeth would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And claws. God, can't imagine.
yeah.
A little more obscure paleontology debate we could weigh into here is lips. You guys familiar with this one?
A little bit, yeah.
There's. Do you know if it's settled one way or another? If Tyrannosaurus, I believe that we think Tyrannosaurus had lips now, which means that when it closes its mouth, its teeth are not visible. They have lips that overhang the teeth, and so it can close its mouth entirely without the teeth sticking out the sides like a crocodile. And so in these movies, the Tyrannosaurus's teeth stick out the sides of its mouth when it closes its mouth, so they're not reconstructing it with lips here.
Yeah, I
Well,
think.
yeah, same thing. 16-year-old fanboy, suck it up. It needs to be scary.
Yeah.
But the Spinosaurus didn't have lips. The Spinosaurus, because its mouth is more like a crocodile, its teeth would have stuck out the sides. So you could put the Tyrannosaurus with lips and then have, hey, here's the bigger, scarier one with the teeth that do stick out the side. So they could have done that one as well.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's totally resolved, but I think that the evidence is kind of pushing towards lips being the thing for the theropods like Tyrannosaurus.
Mhm. Yeah. And Spinosaurus, man, I used to be a big dinosaur guy too, of course. God, which one of us wasn't? When I was young. But Spinosaurus isn't Spinosaurus one of the earlier dinosaurs, like time wise, like from not from the Cretaceous, from earlier way
I mean,
back.
actually,
I
from
think it's
from the Jurassic, perhaps.
yeah.
I mean, that's the obvious criticism that we can level at all these. Most of the dinosaurs in all of the Jurassic franchise are Cretaceous
Yeah.
dinosaurs,
yeah.
not Jurassic. I
Yeah.
think Spinosaurus is like early Cretaceous, but it's
Okay.
not from the same. Most of the others, like Tyrannosaurus and Velociraptor, are late Cretaceous,
late.
so they're not from the same time period for
I'm
sure.
just looking up Wikipedia right now, and it's got Spinosaurus as late Cretaceous as well. So,
It is?
yeah, 100 to 94 million years ago. So,
Still earlier than Tyrannosaurus and Velociraptor, which are
Yeah.
like 70 million
It
years
saved
ago.
me barely, but I used to think it was much earlier. Damn it. Oh well. Shows what I know. They're going to take away my archaeology degree because I got a dinosaur thing wrong.
so Baryonyx is early Cretaceous. That's another kind of Spinosaurid found in England. So that's a bit earlier.
They mention Baryonyx and Suchomimus in this movie when after the encounter with
Yeah.
the Spinosaurus, when things are cooling down a bit, Grant is doing the professor thing that every professor has to do when you're with your student, is quiz your student. And so he asks him he asks him to identify what dinosaur they're working with, and I think he first says Suchomimus.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alan Grant says, think bigger. Oh, he says Suchomimus because of the long nose, is what he says, right? Which is true. So Baryonyx and Suchomimus and Spinosaurus are all closely related, and they all have that long crocodile, that narrow snout that's good for catching fish, which is partly because they were semi-aquatic. So he says Suchomimus, and then he says, think bigger, and then he says Baryonyx, which is smaller than Suchomimus. Unless I have these two
No, I
reversed
think
because I'm
you're
not a dinosaur
right.
paleontologist.
Just showing how crap a grad student this guy is.
Yeah. And then he says, no, think about that sail on its back. And I'm like, but you should have thought about the sail first, because if you're thinking about a dinosaur with a sail on its back, Spinosaurus is literally named after it. It's
Yeah.
named after the spine, right? So it's pretty absurd that he didn't immediately know what a Spinosaurus was as a dinosaur paleontologist.
Hey, Josh, you're just one of those people who is trying to crush one of the other students to make yourself look better. Typical grad student.
Alan Grant, if you're listening, I'm almost finished my PhD in anthropology.
Yes.
I could switch over and do a second PhD in paleontology.
No problem. Hop, skip, and a jump. Oh, one other thing I remember about my filming day on Jurassic Park was if you watch that scene way back in the back in the lecture hall, that you'll see people getting up every so often and like walking, and that was and people raising their hands. That was all choreographed. Like before the shot, they were like, okay, you and you're gonna get up, and then when we like raise our hand, you and you are gonna get up. So they had it was all like choreographed who got up when, and then the hands were too. I think they were like, like everyone's hand goes up, and then he asks the question, oh, but as long as you're not asking about stuff from the first movie, as long as you're not asking about stuff from the second movie. But all of those, we all had our like when you put your hand up and down. I remember that. That took a while, because there's like 300 people in there, and then they had to like choreograph who raised hands when and all that stuff. And so it's stuff like that takes a while in filming. Yeah.
I was actually an extra in a Laura Dern movie.
Ooh.
What?
Not with Laura Dern, though. I was in a scene with Kristen Stewart. It was J.T. Leroy. Probably never heard of it. Not a very big movie.
I have not.
I've heard of Kristen Stewart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was trying to make some quick money before I was moving to Europe, and so I was like hustling, as the kids say, I think. I was taking every little job I could find.
Sure.
It was a party scene, so basically I had to go sit. They had a staging area at a restaurant, which is close to. It was in the same building as where I worked at a different job as a bicycle courier,
right.
Oddly enough. So we just like sat at this restaurant for like 4 hours, and then we went next door to an apartment, which was coincidentally enough a friend's old apartment. And then we just like had a party and like drank fake beer. And there was no dialogue in the scene, so they just like pretend to party, and then the camera guy just like walked around with the director following behind him and crouching to stay out of the camera, and just like film party stuff.
Wow.
And I didn't end up in the final cut. It was like we partied for about an hour, and they got about 30 seconds.
You didn't
of
party
a
hard
party
enough,
montage.
Josh. That's what the problem was.
I did not.
Typical grad student can't party hard enough.
You know what actually happened is at a certain point, I'm like maybe like 5 feet away from Kristen Stewart, like with some other actor doing some like acting stuff. And the director comes and taps me on the shoulder and he's like, go say hi to them. And I'm like, holy shit, I don't actually want to be an extra. I'm just trying to make $200. So I walk up to them and I'm like, hi. And they're like, hi. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never been in a movie before. And they're like, what do you mean? This is real life. We're real people at a party. This isn't a movie. Yeah. And then the director moved on and never shot me again.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. Yeah, I was an extra 3 times, right? So my star turn in Jurassic Park 3, which we've just gone over in detail. I was in Evolution in the volleyball scene. If you guys remember that, like early in the movie, there's this volleyball scene. And so in Jurassic Park 3, you may or may not be able to see me. I'm not sure. Evolution, I'm pretty sure you can't see me at all. It's a huge scene. And that was actually fun. And those guys, while I felt like Sam Neill was pretty grumpy, I felt like, what's his name? Tia Leone's ex-husband.
David Duchovny.
David Duchovny. I thought David Duchovny was like really cool. Okay. He did what you're supposed to do with extras. He just came out, he kind of said hi, he just joked around a little bit. It was great, right? That was fun. And then I was an extra. This reminded me, Josh, because you have like you were on the Project Nobody Knows. I was on the Gina Davis show, which none of you know. It was one season in like 2000. It's all around the same. See, everything I was into was right around 2000, 2001. I was in the Gina Davis show. That one you can see me totally. It was just a half-hour sitcom, and it was a show in like a bookstore, but it was just a studio, as every sort of sitcom. If you think of like the Friends or anything like that, like it's the same just sort of studio thing. But that was the experience. My star turn in the Gina Davis show was basically the experience where I was like, I don't think I want to be an actor anymore, because the Gina Davis show had really so it was a scene where Gina Davis was in it, obviously. Mimi Rogers, who was Tom Cruise's first wife, And then this one other guy who was just sort of an actor who you might recognize if you see him. I was looking at them, and I'm on set like all day, right? I don't have any lines, but I'm just a patron at the bookstore. And I'm watching these guys, and these guys are all like professionals, right? All stars. Like this is Gina Davis, and they all know their lines. Mimi Rogers was great. All knew their lines, all knew what was going on, all on it, shooting. Again, height of professionalism, making the world's shittiest, stupidest show on earth, right? And I remember watching it just going, if I'm lucky, I could, be half of what this is in like Hollywood. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is awful, And it really was a moment where I'm like, yeah, I think that archaeology degree is working pretty good for me at this moment. So, yeah, being an extra can bring it down.
That's so funny. So your life choices were as actor or archaeologist?
They were actually for a long time. Like
two very, very competitive hard fields to get into.
They were. It was funny. Like it was years that went by where I was on a comedy team where I was like archaeologist by day and like actor comedian by night. Like and I did that for a really long time. So it was, but it's funny, and that's what I tell my students too, is just to be honest with yourself and kind of listen to yourself, and see, when you have these experiences, what do they really tell you, and it's like, do you really want to be the thing you're trying to be, and so it was actually that Gina Davis show day was like really important. In my career. Yeah.
Cool.
And Sam Neill being grouchy didn't help. He was exactly like he was on screen. Like that. I think he was bitching at one point about the fans or the air conditioning. I can't even remember, but he just kept bitching.
Well, in most of his other roles, he's not a good guy, right? Like he's usually a bad guy.
Yeah.
Alan Grant's one of his rare roles where he's supposed to be the hero, right?
Yeah. It's true.
He's a bad guy in Event Horizon. He's pretty bad in that.
Oh, that's right.
Isn't he also a bad guy in The Piano? Isn't he on The Piano? He's the horrible husband as well. He's a bad guy in Peaky Blinders, that's for sure.
And that one with Anne Boleyn or something, he was the bishop, the evil bishop guy.
Yeah, bishops are generally evil. So,
have you seen Hunt for the Wilder People?
Yes, we watched that for the podcast, didn't we?
No, we must be thinking of something else. It's a New Zealand one where I think it's like an orphan boy gets taken in by a foster family, but the mother ends up sick or something, and then Sam Neill, this gruff old man who doesn't like kids, has to take care of him.
Gruff old man who doesn't like kids.
Yeah, so he's the good guy, but he's basically Alan Grant, but worse in New Zealand. And so he goes on the run with this kid in the wilderness of New Zealand.
I get mixed up with Beasts of the Southern Wild. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's the one.
I have to break in, and I'm sure they sold it to him like, Sam. Okay, here's what it is. Alan Grant, but worse, in New Zealand. And he's like, I'm in.
And no dinosaurs.
Yeah, no dinosaurs. Oh, that's funny.
All right, so what is our opinion of Jurassic Park 3 in the end?
Not the best Jurassic Park movie, but still has dinosaurs in it, so still good movie.
Yeah. Touching base with characters that we've liked from the first couple of films in a short, not unduly long, but not great film.
Yeah. I'm like empty but okay is what I would sort of call this movie, So that's my ranking.
I still like it better than the second one, but I think 1, 2, and 3 are always above the Jurassic World series, though.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. I agree.
The real thing is that nothing except for the first one, like the first one was like a real celebration of science, and nothing since then has had that.
True.
Right?
No, it's just been a kind of monster movie.
Yeah.
There's also hasn't been strong female characters, because in Jurassic World she's always being saved, right? She's wearing her heels and her tight skirt and she's running around being saved. The first two are the only ones with interesting female characters, and that's probably because they're written in the book.
Yeah.
But in the second book, though, when the trailers are going off the cliff, Sarah saved Ian. But in the movie, Ian saved Sarah. That destroyed me when I was a teenager. I was so upset.
Well, thanks for being here again. You are basically a regular guest at this point. So if you're ever in another movie, let us know and we'll review that one.
I will. I will. I'm going to, even though you guys already did Evolution, I'm just going to bust in, and just be like, no, they forgot about me.
You should just record some comments and we'll just go and put them on randomly throughout.
That's what I'm going to do. No, but the only problem with Evolution is I'd have to watch Evolution again. And so I let it go. Gonna let it go.
Yeah.
Well, and again, thank you guys for having me again. It's always a blast talking to you guys and just joking about movies. This is great.
If you've been enjoying Screens of the Stone Age, get in touch with us. Follow us on Twitter at SOTSA_podcast and on Facebook at SOTSA podcast, or send us an email to screensofthestoneage@gmail.com. Screens of the Stone Age is supported by the Paleoanthropological Society of Canada. Find out more at pasc-scpa.ca.